All right, turbines to speed. I think we are up and running and ready to rock and roll. Let's verify that this thing over here seems to think it is getting a good amount of data. All right, hello, fellow Sublime Text Fanatics. OdatNurd here. Welcome to this Sublime Text package development live stream for the 23rd of whatever month this currently is. July? I guess so. Time flies. Tonight's topic will be a little bit more of the pop-up stuff that we were working on in the last stream. I did a little bit more work behind the scenes on this, gave some more thought to what we might want to have going on in this thing. So we're going to work on that a little bit more. And this stream may also be, like previous ones, a little shorter. My recording schedule for videos on my other channel, which is linked below, which drops videos every Monday, got screwed up a little bit when the gardener's schedule at my apartment complex got flipped for some reason, and the time that I would normally be spent recording, there were several people with very noisy hedge clippers and edgers right outside my recording space window, and I was unable to record any videos. So I'm a little behind on the schedule for that, but I do want to jump in and do some coding. And to that end, let's go ahead and do this. Should also point out that along with this channel, I have another primary channel whose link is in the description. Every Monday, I do a Sublime Text video of one sort or another. This last Monday, we just finished up a long run on the ins and outs of build systems, going from basics all the way up to custom build targets. And if you're interested in those sorts of videos, you can subscribe. There is, as I said, a link in the description. And if you have any questions or comments about any of those videos or anything in this live stream, if you're watching it live or if you are viewing the archive after it has happened, or there's just a video topic that you'd like me to cover one way or the other, drop that in the comment section below or hit me on Twitter at OdatNurd with your suggestions. And if you are watching this live or around about the time that it is recorded, because I know time zones being what they are, some people can't watch the live stream right when it's happening because it is not conducive to them, but this is the only time I have available. One of the video series that I'd like to do is something that I have written on the whiteboard as quote unquote, let's make a package, where we would come up with an idea for a package and start it from the very first principles all the way developing it up over a series of several videos into a functional package and then submit it to package control and show how that works and how packages get into the channel, and maybe even later further on down the line how you update a package that is in package control. But in order to do that, we need an idea for a package for Sublime that is something more complex than just adding some snippets. We want to have some plugin code in there. We want to have a settings file. We want to maybe have an event listener to show all of the different aspects of package development. It has to be something that's not already available in package control to be able to do that. So if you have any ideas for something like that, drop those in the comment section below or on Twitter at the aforementioned OdatNurd handle. And maybe you will get a call out if you come up with the suggestion, rather, to the package that gets generated as a part of that. Now, just to go over what we have been working with in the previous videos, and for this I'm going to bring this extra window over here. We have been working on the ability for, if I split this in two, I can grab a couple of these and just shuffle them over here. The ability to hover over a package in an override report, or sorry, a package report, or in an override report, and get information about that particular package like so. And as we, this is a little more functionality than was here previously. As I said, I have been playing with it a little bit, but we see some extra stuff in here like that. Now, I have a package report and an override report here in the Monokai scheme that I normally use, but I also have this one, which is Mariana, and this one, which is not Mariana. Celeste. There you go. This is one of the default color schemes that ships with Sublime. Its main claim to fame is that it is shockingly white in a way that's kind of burning my retinas right now. But the idea behind that is, as we can see here, uh, this gives us this sort of orangey color and a bluey color. This also gives us an orangey color and a bluey color, talking about the title at the top and the header footer line at the bottom. And this also gives an orangey color and a bluey color, and they're all slightly different. Now, the idea behind that, of course, is that we would when we're generating our little plugin code, I'll put that window back over here for now. We have this CSS that we are applying, and it has various things like the font sizes and weights and margins and things like that. But we might also want to apply colors. Now, in the previous video, I was using something like color orange here, and color orange here, and color red here, and light blue in other places. Colors in this are still very much up in the air. I'm not sure what looks good. We haven't fully nailed down what all the pop-ups are going to have. But one problem with that is that it is possible for um, you to choose a color that might not look good against the color scheme of the actual window that the thing is in. I'm just going to go ahead and create a package report over here just to have one local in this window. So we see here the foreground color is an orange color, and the background color for the pop-up is a darkish color as well. Now, a part of the magic of this is the fact that we are using this sort of functionality, which is something that is available in mini HTML. And when we say var orangish, what we're telling Sublime is in the color scheme that is currently applied to whatever window the pop-up is in, find the closest color to orange. That's the color that we want here. Now, your color scheme can specify variables named orangish and bluish and reddish and such if to specifically set exactly what colors each of these represent. If you don't have those variables, and many color schemes don't, Sublime basically uses an algorithm using the I would imagine HSL or HSV color scheme color space calculations to try to find the color that's closest in hue to orange or red or whatever color you picked right out of the color scheme. So here we're saying we want an orangish color, and that's the orange you see there for default that it's picking, which probably represents the color that's used for self up here for the scope variable.language.python. And so on for the other colors. Now, the reason I had multiple background colors here is that when Sublime generates the HTML for the thing, it adds a class of light or dark to the HTML tag or the body tag, in our case. Light, if this is a color whose lightness is 0.5 or higher, and dark if it's less than 0.5. But one of those is less than or equal to, one of them is not. I'm not entirely sure which is which, but that allows us to create custom CSS, which tailors itself depending on whether or not the background is light or dark. So we could choose to say that we wanted, orangey type colors except when it's light, in which case we want bluey colors again or something. I mean, this is the sort of thing where I think we realized from last week, if you watch the video, that I am not particularly good at visually designing things. There's also been a couple of other changes here, styling wise and whatnot. If we recall, we added a new method called status to our package info class, which provides all of the information about this particular package as a dictionary, which we can store in the settings so that it can be stored in as a dictionary in the settings for this report view, for example, where the key is the name of the package and the value is this dictionary. That allows us to persist the information that we need to generate the pop-up without having to do another package scan. Because in order to know if this package is shipped or installed or unpacked or all three, as we see here, we need to scan the file system, look for Sublime package files in a couple of different places. One of them recursively, check for the presence of a folder. For something that has potential overrides in it, we have to actually look at the contents of the package versus the contents of a directory. This is the sort of thing that doesn't take a super long amount of time, at least if you don't have 500 packages installed or whatever. But it is a non-zero time and not something that you want to have happen every time someone hovers their mouse over the text action script in a window, for example. So this stashes all that data for us. And this is something that has just been added. I think I made the commit today, but it's something I've been sort of playing with in my spare moments here or there. Self.metadata is, I think there's a get metadata here. Can't remember what I call it. Load metadata is what I called it, which basically there are two different types of metadata.json files that might be interesting to us. And we might say package metadata.json, say, for example, for automatic package reloader, like so. And there is also a dependency metadata, like, say, package settings context, like this. Whenever package control installs a package, it adds a file with this name to the package when it is installed, either in the Sublime package file or in the package folder. And when it installs a dependency, it installs this dependency file here. This is the information that allows package control to know that it installed a package and what version of the package is actually installed, which is what allows us to say list packages here and get this information just as instantly as we just saw it there. These are packages that some of them are ones that it doesn't know about, for example, this one. And some of them, like automatic package reloader, the information comes from that metadata file, and it also uses information in here to know if it should look things up. So there's two different types of files here, and we look for the first file for this package that is of that relative name that exists in the package that is being loaded. Then we load it and decode it as a JSON value, and we return none if one isn't found. Now, it's not possible in the general sense for both of these files to appear in the same package, because a package is either a package or a dependency, and package control won't put two of them in there. Incidentally, the presence of this file is what tells package control that it installed a package. So one of the things that it will do at startup is, of course, look to see if packages need to be updated. And it does that by grabbing the list of all the dependency information and all of the package metadata information. And it compares that to the list of packages it thinks it has installed. And if it finds a metadata file in a package that it didn't install, it removes it, which is why you should never take the Sublime package file that package control installed into your installed packages folder and just drop it into another install of Sublime, because the next time Sublime starts, package control will say, hey, I didn't install this package, and it'll just delete it. It'll do the same thing if the folder is unpacked as well. So if you want to be very careful if you're cloning a Git repository of something that the person that created the repository didn't put the dependency metadata or the package metadata file in it, or bad things might happen. But what we actually have is that information appearing in the pop-up now. So if I hover over package reload, automatic package reloader, you can see that text there says automatically reload submodules while developing a Sublime text package. Not all packages have it. ActionScript, for example, doesn't have it. Channel repository tools does. It says it's a Sublime text package for working with channels and repositories. And for the ultimate in this sort of thing, if you check the one for Sublimerge, it's the amazing side-by-side diff and merge tool to compare files and directories, work with differences between text and revisions, resolve merge conflicts, supports Git, SVN, Mercurial, and command line. And it also works for dependencies. For example, dateutil. The dateutil module provides powerful extensions to the datetime module available in the Python standard library. And HyperHelp Core doesn't currently have one of these files in it, because it is installed as my development copy and not as the actual dependency that would have been installed by package control. But we can look at Sublime Lib. It's a utility library for frequently used functionality, and Sublime Text Library and convenience functions or classes. So that's some stuff that we have going on here, and we're sort of working on actually, I have a couple of those files open up here. Let's go ahead and turn on word wrap for these things. These are the ones I just opened. So we can see for dependency metadata, there's a version. There's the version of Sublime Text that is required. A star means it just works for everyone. There's the description. Allow final user to something. Oh, it's word wrapping at a specific width. Allow final user to disable key bindings with very few changes needed from the dev. It is available for all platforms. This is the URL to talk about it for issues and whatnot. For packages, there's also a URL. There's the description. There's the version, again, the platforms. This has a list of dependencies. And here we can see automatic package reloader requires Sublime text greater than or equal to 3000, which is the build number of Sublime. The build number 3000 is synonymous with the first builds of Sublime Text 3 way, way back in the day, even before it was officially released. Sublime Text 2 has builds in the 2000s. Sublime Text 3 has builds in the 3000s. This is what makes automatic package reloader, or at least this install of it, available only for Sublime Text 3. So there's maybe for other information in here in the this information that we might be interested in. Now, I think if we look at package dev and package control, it's a full-featured package manager. Package dev is tools to ease the creation of snippets, syntax, definitions, etc. for Sublime Text. And package resource viewer is that one. So we have some CSS here. We have the body. I can't remember what exactly this might have looked like. And again, I mentioned this in the last video, but there are packages and dependencies and whatnot for making HTML templates that maybe works a little better than what we're doing here, just returning, static strings and strings that are formatted and stuff. But until you actually, I've always found that it's not a good idea to use a library that abstracts away functionality without having some knowledge of what that functionality is doing for you. That's not to say that you always have to write a version of something before you can use a library, but if there's something that is a very, like a complex topic or an in-depth topic, I've always found that it's a lot better in the long run to play with it and try to implement it yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. You get a sense of the ins and the outs and how these things work. And then when you use another predefined library that somebody else has created, you still know what's going on. You still have the ability to diagnose problems because you have a sort of a sense of that. And of course, the classic argument for that is people that learn to program games by watching a make your first game in 20 minutes in a tool like Unity, and you drag and drop some images and you check some boxes in some dialogues and you have yourself a game and you're all excited, and then the next thing you try to create is Doom 3 because people's reach when they're developing games always exceeds the grasp at the moment, and they have absolutely no idea where to proceed because they don't have any information on the basics of how the game worked, how there was something that set up a draw loop and a render loop and how to time these things out so that everything is smooth. All that's taken care of for you. If you don't have any information about that, it's going to be harder to do what you want. So that's why we're doing this here. And this is by far not the final implementation of this by any stretch of the imagination. It's because we're still basically, I'm going to turn that sidebar off there. Does that make that a little better? Yeah. Yeah, we're very far from anything that is final code because we're still trying to figure out what do we want to put in these, where do we want to put them, how do we want to say it. Like I have this text here that this may contain overridden package resources because it's represented by a folder in the packages folder as well as the Sublime package file. Like this one, it may contain overrides. You can't tell if it does or not. Or this one cannot contain overrides because it's not represented by both. That is a little wording. That's probably not what we actually want to have happen here. And something that actually has this may contain. We have to actually do I should probably do it in this window, I suppose. An override report for something like this so that we can actually see this one package resource exists in the package folder for this package but does not exist in the Sublime package file, and there's also one unknown. Sorry, that's that. That contains one overridden package file. This one is just a complete shipped override and so on. Remember, we've come up with a couple of these things here. See, this one doesn't have, there's no overrides at all, so it doesn't have any text in the pop-up whatsoever. This one has 23 resources that exist in the thing. So we really want to work on that a little bit as well. So one thing we could do here, and this is something that I was just pondering before the video started, is this metadata information might just be an empty string, or it might be this paragraph tag with the actual metadata information stored inside it. And maybe we want this to be a div. What does that do to things? I guess we need one that actually has some sort of metadata like this one. Okay, so that still sort of seems to, there's margins on this that ensure, is that going off the edge of the window? I guess it was a little bit, that's okay. It goes sort of off into the ether because my left monitor has a resolution that's smaller than it could be, and I didn't update my virtual desktop. So windows that we can see the very large gap right there, that's just no man's land on the bottom and right of this that aren't visible on my monitor. My mouse can disappear into them, and dragging things across monitors has to go at least that far before I can see it. But yeah, we have some indents in that metadata there. We want that to be, let's say, a div, like so. So then we could actually maybe wrap this in a span tag. Well, actually, maybe that could just be a paragraph tag. I think this is where things start to get a little doolally for us, because I think that will, yeah. Their paragraph tags just on the whole have a font size that's slightly bigger than anything else. I can't remember why exactly it was that I did that. Let's go ahead and where is that? These have specific classes. Those specific classes override the font size that's in use there. That's a body, that's a body, that's a couple of classes. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure why exactly I did that, but let's go ahead and let's remove that and we'll just see what that does to what we're seeing here. Does that look like better or worse? Uh, Fortunately, you can't comment it out or it gets real angry. I guess the margin might be a little bigger now than one might technically want. That might be what's going on there. Whoops, that's not the one I meant to do. The class was metadata. Yeah, that's up here. The margin bottom is 1.5. That might be a little excessive. The font size is smaller. Is that actually tightening anything up? Oh, what is the actual? Those are class body. They have margin bottoms. Well, CSS for this can be worked out later, I suppose. Let's go ahead and put that back to where it was while we play with stuff here. And for dependency information, we might say version. Oh, and then we need to throw version in like so that we can say that version is equal to metadata. Now this isn't actually quote unquote safe because the metadata might not have a version field in it. I mean, it always should to be well formed, but we don't want this to bust just because of that. Yeah, okay, that's sort of what I thought. So we want that to be done slightly different. We might say p class equals version, which I don't think will have any effect on that per se. Maybe we want a b/b wrapped around this so that the text version is a little bit darker, like so. And up here we might say dot metadata dot version margin bottom 25 rem, let's say. Just to sort of maybe we'll make it 0. I'm not entirely sure. Part of the problems with working with this sort of thing is I don't actually know. Oh wait, was that a span? It wasn't, was it? It was a paragraph tag. Yeah. So we might actually say that's p.version. Does that do anything? No. How about that? Okay, it's definitely doing something now. I don't think negative units are available. Oh. Maybe they are. Got to be closer to a full rem. Maybe a line height might have worked better. So that gives us like some version information. Maybe we actually want that to go in the other order. Maybe we want that part to not be indented and only the other part should be indented. Maybe we could say p.version up here and do this. Get that part out and that part out. So I guess we'd have to put it outside of, wouldn't we? Yeah. That's part of the problem with this sort of thing is that I don't know what the hell I'm doing with HTML a lot of the time. Yeah, okay. That's sort of doing what we want, except that the font size is stupid. Part of the problem with HTML is I'm not particularly good at it. And another part is that mini HTML is slightly different in how it works. I gotta add mini HTML to HyperHelp too. I haven't done that as of yet. If we said the H1 has a margin of 1 rem, then we want to say that has a margin top of -1 rem. So I would have thought that that would throw the version information right up underneath the package name there, but it does not. Let's go ahead and bring that over here. Da, da, da. Positive units. Yeah, that's sort of what I thought. Top, right, bottom, and left have positive and negative units. So that might be part of the problem I have here. So working from the top down, the H1, I guess what we could do is not have a margin of 1 rem underneath it, right? This could be like a margin of 0, like so. So that bumps up the way we want. And then the version has a margin bottom of 1 rem, so that that information goes there. That is sort of what we want, and we want font size to be something like that, so it's a little smaller. So this is package control version 3.3.0. This is regular expressions, doesn't have a version, which is something we need to fix. Submerge is that. Date util, that has other issues because that's in the wrong place now. So that should actually be part of that information there. Okay, so that's something to think about. We can do that. Now that's the footer. The pop-up header is this. Class is dependency is disabled. So we might say p class equals version. We're going to have to fix that thing and then say version in here like that. Metadata comes in a different place now, but we could say version equals underscore. Oh, that's actually doing the right. Okay, let's going to require us to pull this like so. And we'll make it look like that instead. So this can be metadata.get version. And if I said list packages, unknown version is what we would have as a value. If we asked package control to list packages, it says what the version is, v blah, 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 or that, or it says unknown version. So with that in place, and maybe if we added a comma there, that wouldn't break. But I think we're sort of screwed now. Yeah. Once the package doesn't load properly, automatic package reloader is no longer your friend. Oh, is it broken good now? Yes, it is. None type has no attribute get. Why is it saying that? Metadata. Let's look at this again. Whoop. We'll do that. Network is unreachable. That can't be good for anybody. Okay, let's clear the console here and hover. So in Sublime plugin, in events, expand details, in header equals pop-up header, at version equals metadata.get. None type has no attribute get. So metadata. Oh, no, wait a minute. In underscore pop-up header, that's this one. So metadata is equal to details.get, the value of the metadata key, and an empty string if it doesn't have it. Okay, hovering over text style, we see none. Why is that the case, though? Oh, right. I know. Okay, yeah. I know why. Because the metadata that we insert is none if there isn't any. Or that. Okay, that'll do what we want. He said. There we go. That's an unknown version of text style. That's an unknown version of theme default. That is 3.0.33. Right on. That part is doing what we think it should do. Sort of kinda. It should actually say B. Then a little V. Something like so. And do we like it to say version or do we like it to just say V blah, blah, blah? I would probably just want it to do that, I guess. So that's an unknown version. Oh, right. That is a bit of a problem, but we'll worry about that in a second. V 2.6.0. This package is a dependency. That's an unknown package. TypeScript is an unknown version. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why the TypeScript package doesn't have a thing. Hyperhelp core is a dependency and currently disabled. Yeah, that's messing it up. I'm gonna take the V out of there. So that's unknown version and that's 2.6.0. I'm not sure what the good way to pull something like that off is. So we'll just leave it as that for now because it's easy enough to go ahead and cram some stuff in there. Now, if we're doing that there, the metadata doesn't need a version up here, and that means it also doesn't need that. So if we clear that out, we can get a little bit of this going, like so. Now, I think what we had here in the P dot version was that margin bottom 1 rem. Let's take that out. So these things just sort of automatically bump if they need to. That's 1.0.1. This is dependency. This one is an unknown version and disabled. That's, of course, an unknown version and disabled. This is an unknown version, a dependency and disabled. Now, I'm pretty sure that used to work before we added this. So just let's go ahead and throw that out and do this. I guess we must have broken that at another point. All right, then. That's no problem. Is dependency and is enabled. I would imagine those are, yeah, disabled and dependency as items here. So a dependency is red and moved up a little bit, and disabled is red and moved up a little bit. So we're sort of messing with, is line height one of the things that this supports? Line height positive units. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we want to copy these same two items to p.version, but we would make this 8, like so. Oh, yeah, I guess we don't want to do that, do we? I guess that one just sort of automatically worked. Okay, put that back. That's not something we want. Incidentally, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but this notion of a package that is a complete override, because there's a shipped version and then there's an installed version by the same name like this. So you see that text there that says overrides shipped package. And this one is also expired because the version in the installed package directory is newer. I wanted that to be right aligned. I wasn't sure how to do it in the last stream. In the interim, I heard from JPS himself, good old John Skinner, not actually possible in mini HTML. So didn't miss much there. That's just not something that we can do. Okay. I should be looking at this down here because every time it pops, we can see exactly what HTML it's generating. I guess we could totally remove that print of metadata. That's just getting in the way now. Okay, so if I did that, we see config pop-up, version, hidden. Oh, those ones are both hidden because, excuse me, they are not something that applies. So I guess what we actually want is something like HyperHelp Core, which doesn't have a version, but does have a dependency class and an enabled class. And I wonder why we are not quite getting the same action on those. Let's say metadata, that's the thing that puts the description in sort of indented like it is there. The version, let's say font size is 0.8. You can't use a negative margin, so that probably doesn't do squat anyhow. Actually, I guess it kind of did, didn't it? Okay. But why? I mean, we thought it did until suddenly it... There we go. Line height 0.8 rem. What does that do? If we reload that. Okay, so we still need the margin to push it up, but complete and expired are both items that belong up here because they're part of the header span thing. Metadata comes down after version and dependency and disabled and hidden. The whole body of this thing, I'm not even sure where that's used, but we'll just leave it for now. Let's reload that. Okay, so we have the header, the span that says if it's complete or not, and the dot complete and the dot status are both cyanish. That gives us that magic text up in the top right corner, and we have to go up and find color scheme default to be able to look at those. Thusly, that's cyan and that's red. That's where these two things come from. Complete and status. Oh, status is if it's a dependency or it's not. Oh, what the hell is dot status? Huh. Oh, that thing down there, right, in the footer. Right on. Okay, I'd forgotten about that. That's the stuff that says if it shifts with Sublime in the installed packages folder or in the packages folder. So we got that going. If the version is a font size of 8 with a line height of 8, but we move it up 1, why don't we move it up 0.8? That margin top said it only supports positive units, but that totally seems to have an effect, so I'm not sure what that means. Let's reload that. That seems to maybe still do what we want. Maybe because it's not having any effect at all. Maybe the line height just does it now. No, it totally does something in a weird way. Dependency is a font size of 0.75. Let's say that it also has a line height of 0.75 as well. And let's remove both of those and reload. And we got to come down to one of these dependencies that's not mine. Okay, so if we throw that back in, then that's still up there. And for HyperHelp Core, we need to do the same thing for currently disabled. We have the font size. Let's say we make the line height as well. I think that might be part of the problem here. No? Let's reload it one more time. I'm really confused why sometimes a thing does a thing and sometimes a thing doesn't do a thing. Yeah. Realistically, you shouldn't be able to have a package be a dependency and disabled at the same time. It doesn't really matter if you disable a dependency because Sublime isn't capable of loading the Python plugin files in it anyway because they're not in the top level of the package, specifically because dependencies are laid out in a way that makes it not do that. So all ignoring a dependency would do is stop any menu files and other resources that are in it from appearing, which is by and large probably what you it shouldn't have any effect anyway. If anything, it would make your life better because that's not something that a dependency should do. So again, if we go ahead and clear this console and we hover over this, we are seeing HyperHelp Core. It's not shipped or expired. It's an unknown version. P class is version, class is dependency, class is disabled. Then P class body down there. That's where the body part comes in. This is where the metadata would be if there was any, but there isn't, so it's just a big old empty string. Here's the thing I like to do sometimes. Version dependency disabled. Border 1 pix solid red. It's definitely just moved down for some reason, but those ones aren't. So, what would we say here? Why is this the case? Because we can't just move the ignored line up because it looks proper this way. It's only in combination with the other one that it has extra space there. So, I mean, of course, this could also be clarified a little by having the fund information once and having one whole thing wrapped around it. But I find for my own uses that playing around with how the layout should actually look works a little better for me doing it this way and then go back and clean it later. Like, which one is missing here? The package is currently disabled. This is the one. If I did this, then it looks not quite right for this, but it looks very wrong for that because it's up a whole line. Here, it's not. I really don't understand that part neither, to be perfectly honest. That makes it worse there. That makes it worse there. So those are definitely things we sort of kind of want to have happen. Maybe this is where line height would actually do us a favor. Maybe the margins are problems. Left, right, top, bottom. So what if that and that and that also had a margin bottom of 0? What does that do? Still nothing, huh? Of course, I'm always sort of weirded out by how sometimes it sort of seems to work and sometimes it doesn't. Is padding a thing? Yes. Whoops. Both of those should also be padding. Still no. Okay. Well, let's go ahead for the time being and just, oops, do a little bit of that. We'll assume maybe the version should be up there. I kind of like it better here. Yeah. Okay. So it's that, it's that, it's that. So if we look here, after we enter a bunch of these. How are we looking on time? Not too shabby. We have the header at the top. There should actually be a whole, well, I guess this isn't all of the HTML and stuff. This is just the stuff that we're actually putting into the body of this thing. If we look at this, it's this body string here that's actually being printed, I think. Expand details, the header, the overrides, and the footer. It's all this stuff. That's what gets dumped out to the console. So there's version that, it's a dependency. It's currently disabled. Metadata just says that. Then after that is the information on overrides and then the status at the bottom, which isn't wrapped in a paragraph tag. And I don't know if that's a problem or not. Is that HTML5 compliant or whatever? I don't know. Amazing side-by-side diff and merge tool. Okay. So I'm not sure what the best way to proceed with this is. You slowly turn stuff on a little at a time. Try to decide. There's actually more stuff that we want in here. So maybe we do that. What was I just thinking here? If we do metadata, has the description tag inside of that, and then we want P like so, and dependencies equals none. Great. Comma that. So if we do it, that just says we need something that actually has metadata like date util does. Dependencies none. There's again more stuff that has to happen here. Terminus dependencies none, which we actually know is a lie because the dependencies information. Oh, that's oh, whoops. That's the dependency. Oh, okay, hang on. Terminus metadata. There we go. And word wrap it. And in this one, view dot settings. Oops. Set wrap with 0. There we go. So Terminus doesn't have any dependencies, huh? I find that hard to believe. What about package dev? It also doesn't have any dependencies. Well, I have a feeling that is what one might call a lie. So if we do sublime.find resources package metadata.json, assuming I could do that, there's all of those. window.open file for file in that. Can't open any of them, huh? Oh, right. Crap. Okay. Okay, that's not gonna work. Okay, close that without saving. But if this part was still no. Okay, so that means window.run command open file, and the file is that. That works. Okay. So we're gonna need to do that, but also if we said sublime.find resources package metadata.json. That's all of those. Actually, window.run command open file. File is for file in there, just to test this, because I'm pretty sure that this is also not going to work, but I can never quite remember the distinctions between the two different types of commands. Oh, sorry, that should have been round brackets. And this needs to have a little of that, so we can do that. Whoa, boy, that is most definitely not the thing to do. Okay. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is something has to be using one of these damn metadata files, one of these dependencies, or why are they installed, you know? So there's that. Sublime, okay. Res equals sublime dot find resources package metadata dot json, like so. So res is a bunch of stuff. Res is equal to, okay, let's say if package is this, oops, like if that's package, then if I said package is that plus package len packages, we did that the wrong way because I can never remember the order of those things. That's a thing. Res equals for package in res. Now they're hooked up like that, and then we say window run command open file, and the argument is file, and the value is res for res in res. Oh, oops. F for F in res. There. Slow and steady wins the race. Let's check them all. Automatic package reloader. Doesn't have a dependency. Channel repository tools. Doesn't have dependencies. Comment Glory doesn't, but I'm aware of that, and neither does that one because I'm the one that wrote it. File Manager has no dependencies. Find Key Conflicts has no dependencies. Generic config probably doesn't have any dependencies, but why would it? Also no. Origami, no. Package control, nope. It doesn't even have a key for it. That's interesting. Package dev doesn't. I'm pretty sure it depends on Sublime lib. That doesn't either. And this one doesn't. This one doesn't. SFTP has no dependencies. It only works on OS X and Linux, at least the version we have here. That's interesting. Nope. And what about this one? Nope. So GitHub. Yeah. That's the one. And search for package control. Can't do it that way, huh? That's the one, package control channel. Now let's say we looked at the P file, looked for package dev. Huh. I guess it's not in here. It's in the actual package, isn't it? That's why I'm getting confused by that. Okay, so that means, well, actually, probably easier to just do this, I suppose. So go directly there. And it has a dependencies.json file that has this information in it. Now, I thought that the dependencies item in the package metadata would actually have this value in it, but apparently it does not. So that sort of throws this whole thing for a loop. Sublime.find resources dependencies.json. Package control totally has dependencies. Package control dependencies. Yeah, it depends on SSL Linux. for older versions, for older versions, for older versions. So right now it doesn't. So more work has to happen to actually pull this information. This is code that's actually in package control. So if we want to do something that shows us the dependencies for one of these packages, then we actually need to do a little bit more work than we might have thought, because it's not in that data. It actually comes from a different location. I'm not sure how best to proceed from there. And I think that might be a good point to call this particular stream. Got to do a little bit more work on actually figuring out how I want this to be laid out, among other things. But the general idea, and if I don't get this done this week, this will be the topic of next week's video, is the following. We can use Sublime.platform to get what platform we're on, which would be Windows, Linux, OS X, or one of those three. And I believe we could use Sublime.version to get a build number as such. So what we need to do is load this dependencies.json file, since it's not actually something that's listed in the package metadata file, which is interesting. Maybe that's a holdover. That's how it used to work and now it doesn't. I'm not 100% sure. But for any given package, what we would want to do is also load its dependencies.json file the same way we're loading the package metadata and the dependency metadata. Maybe inject dependencies as this key to replace the one that's in here, because this one doesn't seem to have anything in it anyway. And then we need a method whereby, using these two items, the Sublime platform and the Sublime version, we figure which one of these applies to us. So we're not Windows, we don't care about that. We are Linux, so these apply, and star is just for everybody. So this is saying, just generically speaking, for builds prior to 3109, it is BZ2 that's needed, which I guess would be OS X. But specifically on Linux, if you're on less than build 3109, these two dependencies are needed. If you're at 3109 and better, then you don't need those at all. And also for Windows, these are only needed for Sublime Text 2 and not for Sublime Text 3. So using those two pieces of information and checking this out, we would need use that to determine what dependencies a package depends on. And then when we do something where we might, for example, hover over terminus, instead of saying dependencies none, it would say dependencies and then the actual dependency libraries itself. There's also something else that I'd like to do here, and that is, for that we need to come up to, maybe we'll just go over here. When we see this, we see it says that one package resource exists in. I think I want this to say 1 overrides, 0 expired, 1 unknown resource. And each one of those two things could have a little question mark at the end of it. And if you clicked on that question mark, then the pop-up would change to tell you what that actually means, for that text that's currently there right now. Similar to how in the package report, this says it either can or can't have. It might just say overrides not possible with a little question mark, and you could get more information on that if you wanted. So there'd be like a little question mark. You click it, the pop-up swaps to be the help, and then there'd be a little back arrow you could use to go back to this pop-up, or you could just hover it away and bring it back that way. That is what we are going to work on next week. All of that sort of stuff, or whatever subset of it I don't get done in whatever free time I might have this week, which probably is shaping up to not be a whole lot, because I do have a lot of video recording, well, not so much recording to do, but editing to do, and planning for upcoming videos. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, if you have been watching, thank you. If you'd like to see these streams live, you can subscribe to the channel, and I always schedule when the next live stream is going to happen, even if we don't necessarily know what the topic is going to be at the time. For example, I can see this one still seems to say TBA, even though it specifically had a title. Sometimes the YouTube streamer updates the metadata when it says saving, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'll have to fix that. You could use that to see when the next item is coming up, and even get YouTube to give you a reminder. If, on the other hand, you prefer shorter, more directed videos where you don't spend a bunch of time working on something only to determine that your entire premise is faulty. There is another channel I have, the OdatNurd channel. A link to that is also in the description below, wherein you can see a video every Monday on a variety of topics. And you can also suggest videos or topics you'd like me to cover by doing that down in the comments section below, or by hitting me on Twitter at OdatNurd. And if I do this, we can see that one more time there. You can also use that to ask me for clarifications on the content of this video or any of my videos, as a matter of fact. But until that next live stream next Tuesday, or the next video next Monday, this is OdatNurd asking you to please have a sublime day.